We should.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ever since you went independent, do you talk to Diddy?
Not as often as I'd like, but that's the homie forever.
Yeah.
People will never understand that relationship. You know, like, people didn't know that Puff had bought me out of a contract prior to even getting on the show.
Really?
So I had loyalty to that, you know, and that's a respect that I understand that I loved my group, and I know that it wasn't I chose Puff over my group at the time. It was more of, when someone does that, where I come from, you got to respect that on a large level. So I gave loyalty to him, and I think I'll never forget that. And my father and my mother, for what we gone through, we'll never forget that. And I think with all his crazy, I look at things like that as loyalty. So
she also claimed that she had no bad story about Diddy.
Now, and that's it. You know, it wasn't all perfect. It wasn't all great. Yeah. He's exactly what people say he is, but he's also, he gave me a shot. I don't have the story that you have. I have I got out alive.
Yeah.
And I got out with a business. And I don't have no bad stories. That was only support. So if you do good by other people, they'll do good by you.
I agree.
Okay. And in order to get that, I have to release him for any claims or wrongdoings or actions prior to the date of the release. I have to sign an NDA that I will never disparage Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, or Justin Combs' music, or EMI, or Sony ever in public.
So that you just got recently for this thing?
I got it a few months ago when he started doing this. In the news now. So what's happening is artists, some of them, not all of them, are being given streaming royalties and ownership back over our publishing on songs that we wrote at a time when you know that you have to stream a song 1 million times to make a cent.
Yeah.
Okay. It's hundreds of dollars. And me, as somebody that's a girl's girl, I hit everyone in my group and said, absolutely do not take this deal.
All his artists, when he gave them their publishing back. I'm going to give y'all publishing, but y'all can't talk about Janice Combs, Justin Combs, Sony, Bad Boy, or anything that happened. Y'all can't talk about none of that. But there's some artists that didn't say anything, that didn't sign it, and they able to talk about anything they want to. And I think that's those girls that was, I think, Danity Kane. I think a couple of them didn't sign it.
Awards, etc., Grammys, same with girls. The stories that we have to tell during a time in music where there were gatekeepers, there were people that owned labels like Puff running things, and the way that the divisions and the divisiveness occurred, and the things that we experienced between each other and us against the system are insane.
Because I heard him, and I'm giving you this, Aubrey. He stood up there and he said in front of a lot of people, we were in the studio, and I said something to him and walked out the studio. He said, yo, I'm going to off and pick them up and pip them out to my, he said, I'm going to them out. I'm going to get them all on, and I'm going to pimp their ass out to my, and I was like, them somebody kids, and walked out. And it's somebody that heard me. It's somebody that heard me.
This Diddy trial just went nuclear. Dawn Richard, yes, Dirty Money Dawn, the same one who once called Diddy her homie for life, just dropped a bombshell in court that has the entire internet shaking. In a leaked audio recording and emotional testimony, Dawn claims Diddy forced her and fellow Danity Kane member Aubrey O'Day to engage in freak-offs in the studio while he watched. And that's just the beginning. We're only in week 2 of this federal circus, and between Cassie's explosive testimony and now Dawn's, it's clear the Diddy empire isn't just cracking, it's crumbling. Allegations of abuse, manipulation, intimidation, and sexual coercion are pouring out, and every day brings a new level of depravity. So if you thought you knew the story, you don't. Buckle up because this ride is about to get disturbingly dark. The walls are closing in on Sean Diddy Combs. Once hailed as the ultimate hip-hop mogul, Diddy is now at the center of an explosive federal investigation that's unraveling faster than anyone expected. It all started when Cassie Ventura, his former protege and longtime girlfriend, filed a bombshell lawsuit accusing him of abuse, trafficking, and a web of dark secrets. And although that suit was settled within 24 hours, it cracked the dam wide open. Since then, the floodgates have burst. Multiple accusers, federal raids, hidden footage. A career once built on platinum records and mogul status is now smothered by allegations of violence, manipulation, and a criminal empire built behind closed doors. But here's what no one saw coming. Don Richard, the same Don who stood on stage beside Diddy as a loyal member of Danity Kane. The same Don who defended him fiercely in interviews, calling him family, even after the group imploded. The same Don who owed her rise to making the band, a show that Diddy orchestrated like a kingmaker. Now, she's done being silent. In a stunning reversal, Dawn has become one of the most damning voices speaking out against him. Not only is she supporting the survivors, she's allegedly cooperating with investigators. And it's shaking the industry. Because if Dawn, one of Diddy's most public defenders, is switching sides, what does she know that we don't? Buckle up. This betrayal might be the turning point in the entire case. Let's get into what Don Richard actually said, because once you hear this, you'll understand why people are calling her testimony the nail in Diddy's coffin. First, the leaked audio. According to sources close to the investigation, federal agents played a recorded phone call during closed-door testimony. On it, Diddy can allegedly be heard instructing Dawn and her Danity Kane bandmate Aubrey O'Day to engage in sexual acts with each other. In the studio, while he watched, the room went dead silent. Because this isn't some rumor off Twitter, this is audio submitted as part of a federal case. And that was just the warm-up. Dawn went on to describe how those studio sessions that were supposed to be about music, often turned into pressure cookers of fear and coercion. According to her testimony, Diddy controlled everything. If you didn't do what he wanted, you were punished. Not physically, not at first, but with humiliation, isolation, being iced out of meetings, getting locked out of recording time. Imagine being in your early 20s, barely navigating the industry, and the man who signs your checks is also the one demanding you prove your loyalty in the most degrading ways imaginable. And she says it wasn't just her. Dawn described entire studio parties Diddy would throw, parties that didn't feel like celebrations. They felt like traps. Girls as young as 17 were allegedly brought in. Alcohol, weed, pills, no cameras, no security, just Diddy, his inner circle, and a growing cloud of paranoia. She recalled one night where a girl passed out in the hallway, and instead of calling an ambulance, Diddy allegedly stepped over her body and told a staffer to clean it up. Clean it up, like trash. And Dawn says this became the norm. The longer she stayed, the more numb she became. She claims Diddy used fear like a drug, feeding people promises of fame, then dangling it over their heads like a weapon. One wrong move, you're out. Your career's over. Your name blacklisted. But the darkest part? Dawn admitted that she stayed silent for years out of survival. Because every time she tried to speak up, she was reminded, verbally, directly, that she owed Diddy. That he made her. That without him, she was nothing. This wasn't just industry politics. This was psychological warfare. And now, for the first time, she's speaking that truth in front of investigators. Under oath. With receipts. And if this is what Dawn's revealing, imagine what the rest of the witnesses are holding back. Dawn Richard wasn't just another artist on Diddy's label. She was loyal to a fault. For years, she defended him like family. In interviews, on red carpets, even when Danity Kane fell apart and the public pointed fingers at Diddy's chaotic management, Dawn held the line. In one 2014 interview, she said, and I quote, "Diddy gave me my first real shot. People don't see the behind the scenes, but he pushed me to be better. I'll always respect him for that." In another, she brushed off rumors of mistreatment, saying, "That man is like a father figure. He's hard on us, sure, but that's the business. But now, those words hit differently, because that same woman is now alleging that behind the scenes, it wasn't tough love, it was calculated abuse. That the so-called father figure used his power to isolate, intimidate, and exploit. So what changed? Maybe the better question is, why did it take her this long? And the answer? It's complicated. Insiders close to Dawn say she lived in constant fear. Fear of retaliation. Fear of being blacklisted. Fear of losing everything she'd worked for. She saw what happened to people who spoke out. Careers vanished. Reputations destroyed. And in that world, Diddy wasn't just a boss. He was the gatekeeper, the kingmaker. If you crossed him, you were done. So Dawn played the game. She kept her mouth shut, smiled for the cameras, swallowed her truth, like so many others. But that silence came at a cost. And now, with federal agents kicking down doors and survivors finally being heard, she's done protecting the myth. The loyalty is gone. The mask is off. And the man she once called a mentor, she's now helping to bring him down. Now here's where it gets even darker, because Dawn Richards' testimony doesn't just expose Diddy's twisted control over Danity Kane. It also validates what Cassie's been screaming into the void for years. Cassie Ventura, the former R&B singer and longtime girlfriend of Diddy, filed that bombshell lawsuit in 2023, accusing him of rape, years of physical abuse, and forcing her into drug-fueled orgies. At the time, some people rolled their eyes, said it was a cash grab. But now, Dawn's testimony reads like a side-by-side confirmation. Dawn told investigators she personally witnessed Diddy grab Cassie by the arm during an argument so violently she thought it would dislocate her shoulder. She says Cassie was dragged into a back room at Bad Boy Studios, and when she tried to follow, a bodyguard physically blocked her from entering. Minutes later, Cassie emerged in tears, makeup smeared, her blouse torn at the shoulder. And that wasn't a one-off. Dawn said Cassie would show up to rehearsals with bruises. Excuses changed every time. She fell, she bumped into a speaker, she was clumsy. But the fear in her eyes never did. Dawn claimed she tried to intervene once, just once, and Diddy pulled her aside and said, "Mind your place or lose your spot." Let that sink in. And what makes it even worse, Dawn wasn't the only one who saw it. She named names. Usher, Neo, even Busta Rhymes. All allegedly witnessed Diddy screaming at Cassie, calling her slurs, threatening to ruin her life. But no one said a word. Not publicly. Not privately. The music industry's biggest names watched abuse happen in real time and stayed silent. Whether out of fear, loyalty, or self-preservation, they helped Diddy build his empire of silence. So when Cassie finally sued, when she broke the dam and risked everything, people like Dawn were still too afraid to back her up. But now, Dawn's stepping up, backing Cassie, putting her name on the record. And every story she tells makes Cassie's lawsuit look less like an accusation and more like a fact. As soon as Dawn Richards' testimony hit the internet, Diddy's camp went into full-blown crisis mode. Within hours, anonymous sources started whispering to blogs. She's bitter. She's trying to revive her career. She was never even that close to Diddy. The usual playbook. Discredit the accuser. Question her motives. Stir up just enough doubt to make the headlines blur. Then came the cease and desist letters. Not to Dawn. She spoke to federal investigators, which means her statements are protected. No, Diddy's team went after the blogs, the YouTubers, the TikTokers who dared to repost her claims. Anyone helping her voice spread? Targeted. And yet, the damage is already done. Because Dawn wasn't just some ex-employee, she was loyal. For years, she defended him publicly. So when someone like that flips, it hits different. Fans who grew up watching Making the Band, who saw Dawn rise and fall under Diddy's thumb, aren't just shocked, they feel betrayed. Some are reposting old clips with new eyes. Others are deleting his music, writing, "I can't unsee it," under every video. But it's not all support. There's still a pocket of diehard offenders saying, if it was that bad, why wait so long? Why now? The same tired questions women always get when they finally speak. But this time, there's more pushback to the pushback. People are reminding each other. Fear keeps people quiet. Power silences truth. And when one brave voice speaks up, it gives the others permission to do the same. And that's exactly what's happening. Because since Dawn's statement, multiple other lawsuits have resurfaced. Some old, some quietly dismissed, some previously sealed. Allegations from dancers, producers, even a former assistant. Stories about manipulation, NDAs, drugs, violence. The pattern's becoming too obvious to ignore. One insider told The Root, this isn't a scandal. It's an empire built on silence, and it's collapsing. What we're watching isn't just a PR fallout. It's a reckoning. And with each new voice, each new receipt, the illusion of Diddy as hip-hop's untouchable mogul is unraveling thread by thread. To understand the full weight of these allegations, you have to look past the headlines and into the machine behind the man. Because Diddy didn't just build a brand. He built a regime. From the outside, he was the ultimate mogul. A hit maker. A businessman. The face of Ciroc, Bad Boy, Revolt. But behind the scenes, Diddy ran his empire like a dictator in a designer suit. Image was everything, and control was the price of entry. Multiple sources, including former Danity Kane members and employees, had described the same disturbing pattern. Diddy didn't just manage artists, he broke them. Let's start with the sleep and food deprivation. According to Don Richard, and confirmed by others close to the group, Diddy would punish the girls during rehearsals and recording sessions by denying them basic needs. If someone missed a step, flubbed a note, or simply questioned him, they wouldn't be allowed to eat. One former assistant told investigators, there were days when the girls would rehearse for 12 hours straight. No breaks, no meals, and if they asked for food, they were told to earn it. It wasn't just about discipline, it was about domination. He'd isolate them, divide them, make one the favorite, then turn the others against her. Rotate the praise and punishment so no one ever felt safe. This wasn't management. This was psychological warfare. And then there were the studio sessions. Several insiders allege that Diddy would force artists into drug-fueled all-night recording marathons. We're talking 18 to 24 hours straight. No sleep, no stepping out. And if you wanted to leave, you were told you weren't serious about success. Some say he provides substances, alcohol, pills, sometimes harder stuff, to keep people wired, compliant, exhausted. A former sound engineer anonymously told Rolling Stone, he didn't want you alert. He wanted you off balance. That's when you're most vulnerable. That's when he gets what he wants. And it wasn't just physical control. It was emotional blackmail. Diddy created a world where he was the sun. He chose your songs, your look, who you could date, where you could go. He could make or break you. And he loved reminding people of it. This wasn't about creating art. It was about creating dependence. Some called it tough love. Industry standard. But with each new voice stepping forward, it's becoming clearer. This was abuse dressed up as mentorship. A toxic mix of manipulation, ego, and unchecked power that ruined careers and shattered lives. And all the while, the world applauded the brand. Diddy was the hustler who made it, the mogul with the Midas touch. He told us to vote or die, to dream big, to never stop grinding. But behind the grind was a graveyard of exploited talent and silenced voices. Now, those voices are rising, and the image he's so carefully crafted, it's starting to crack. Years ago, in an interview that barely made waves at the time, Don Richard looked into the camera and said 6 chilling words. I got out. I got out alive. At the time, most fans thought she was talking about the music industry grind, the contracts, the chaos. But in light of what we now know, that clip hits different. It's not just a metaphor. It's a warning we all missed. That same energy carried into her final statement before federal investigators, a moment that's already being described as a turning point. Voice shaking, but steady, she reportedly said, he broke people, but he didn't break me. And if my truth helps even one person speak theirs, then it was worth it. It wasn't just emotional, it was defiant. A declaration from someone who had been gaslit, silenced, dismissed for years, and finally had the floor. Legal experts say her testimony, especially because it spans both personal experience and witnessed abuse, may open the floodgates. In fact, Prosecutors are now considering her statement as a catalyst. One called it the Rosetta Stone of the case. Because Dawn didn't just escape, she left breadcrumbs for others to follow. And now they are. What's happening with Diddy right now isn't just a scandal. It's a reckoning, one that goes far beyond him, far beyond Bad Boy Records, and deep into the heart of the music industry itself. Because if the allegations are true, and the testimonies keep stacking up, then it's not just about one powerful man abusing that power. It's about an entire system that enabled him. For decades, Bad Boy Records wasn't just a label. It was a factory that churned out stars and quietly chewed them up. Behind every platinum plaque was a story of control, fear, silence. And yet, the industry stayed quiet. Executives knew, producers knew, collaborators knew. Some even whispered about it at award shows, at parties behind closed doors. But no one did anything. Why? Because Diddy was a gatekeeper. He could make or break you with a single phone call. And in an industry built on access, image, and illusion, survival often meant staying silent. But now that silence is cracking, survivors aren't just telling their stories, they're naming names. Labels are being forced to confront the cost of protecting their biggest earners. And fans? They're finally asking harder questions. Not just about Diddy, but about the industry as a whole. About the R. Kellys, the Dr. Lukes, the behind-the-scenes executives who used fame as a smokescreen. There's also a cultural shift happening. For years, black survivors, especially black women, were overlooked, dismissed, or told to protect the culture by staying quiet. That era is ending. People are realizing that holding abusers accountable isn't betrayal, it's integrity. The Diddy fallout is shaking up more than just one empire. It's forcing an entire industry to ask, what did we allow? Who did we protect? And who paid the price? Because this isn't just about music. It's about power and the cost of staying silent.